Hello folks, Cube the Third here, and I'm going to be doing something a little different today as I'm demonstrating my design for an AFK fishing farm in Minecraft. And it should be noted that this method only works in Minecraft 1.11 and newer. It will not work in 1.10 and older versions of the game. And before I start, I also want to mention that all of the items you see in front of us, so slime, pistons, as well as redstone repeaters and comparators, are not used in this design. So it's a fairly simple, fairly easy design to make. And best part is that it doesn't use any form of clock, so I don't mean this kind of clock here. I'm talking about redstone clocks. Now let's take a look at what we need in order to build this farm. So everything in the center is what's required. So we have 35 pieces of wood, 12 iron ingots, 4 redstone, as well as a piece of cobblestone, water, and string. I'm also going to use some granite as a filler block. You can use just about anything instead. And we're going to have to craft a few items before we start. So I'm going to take one piece of redstone and surround it by our wood here, like so. This will give us one note block, some chests, as well as some sticks. Next, we're going to take our iron and craft iron doors. And with some of the remaining iron, we'll be making a hopper. And with the last piece of iron, we'll be crafting some tripwire hooks. And with one of the last sticks, as well as our piece of cobblestone, a lever. And this is just about everything that we're going to need in order to do some AFK fishing. So over here, I've prepared a hole in the ground. This is actually just to access the chests that I have, which will collect the items. You can change this pretty much any way you want, have it pipe into some kind of automatic sorting system. I've done it this way more for demonstration. So we have a couple of chests there with the hopper placed on top. Then we're going to be using our note block above it. And normally when you right click on a note block, it's changing the pitch of the note that it's set to. However, if you place a block on top of it, it stays silent, which is really nice and which is what we want. We're going to be placing some filler blocks next to our note block and on the sides of the hopper like so. And this will allow us to place our tripwire hooks on the sides here and place our string in the front. Next, we're going to be placing a door in front of all of this, and water just above the hopper like so. We'll be using some more blocks to fill in the sides of the door, as well as fill in some spots next to the tripwire back here, and place our redstone on top. This will allow the tripwire to interact with the door without it interfering with the hopper that was placed below. Lastly, we're going to take our lever, place it next to the door, and flip it. And this concludes the build of the farm. So I'm just going to head into this chest here and grab a Lure 3 fishing rod that I've prepared, and let's see how this works. So the position you'll be standing in is key for this to work best. I recommend standing about the center of the block in front of the door and just aligning yourself so that way you're standing just about 1 pixel away from the door like so. After this, we'll be flipping the lever and that'll close the door. This will put us inside of the block, which means that while we're trying to use our fishing rod, it will interact with the door, but it will cast the bobber behind the door. And since we have our water in front of us here, if you cast into the water like so, it will throw the bobber inside the water without interacting with the door. This is actually why the method does not work in older versions of the game. In 1.10, after 1.10, a bug was fixed, which made it so if you tried using a fishing rod on a door, it would repeatedly right-click, thinking that you were trying to open the door. Now, it actually allows you to cast a fishing rod. While this breaks older AFK fishing farm designs, it allows this one to work. Now, instead of aiming to the string here, since that will cause us to repeatedly cast and reel in, you're going to aim for the center of our note block here. And since it thinks you're trying to interact with the note block instead, you're going to be repeatedly right-clicking and effectively doing nothing. Now, if a fish comes along, the bobber will dip, and this will cause the tripwire to no longer be triggered, which will close the door. This means that when the door is closed, the bobber is reeled in, you catch the fish, and then the bobber is recast all at the same time. Now, because this isn't using any repeaters or clocks of any sorts, you're not going to be repeatedly failing at casting the bobber because the timing isn't quite right. The door is only closing when you need it to and only opening when you need it to. I find this method fairly accurate, and very rarely do you cast and it does not interact as you expect. Now, I've been fishing for just a couple seconds here, but I've already managed to catch a few things. So if I take a look in the chest down here, I've already managed to catch 4 fish and a water bottle as well. Maybe not the most desirable, but 5 things in just a few seconds isn't too bad. There is, however, a bit of a problem with this design, of course, is that it's fairly open. There isn't anything on the roof, there isn't anything blocking the door, so if you were in single player, it would be fairly dangerous to be AFK while fishing like this. So what I recommend is just taking some of the extra items that we have, so some of our filler blocks as well as one of our iron doors, and placing it like so. This will allow us to stand inside, and while the lever is flipped, both of these doors will be closed, meaning that no creepers or zombies could sneak in. Yeah, you'll of course need to put a roof on top as well to protect yourself, but a fairly quick, easy way to sort of make it safe for single player. There is a bit of a flaw with this design though, and that's that you can flip the lever outside the room, meaning you can effectively lock yourself out. But as long as you're careful, it shouldn't be too difficult to work with. Nonetheless, though, this is the design that I've come up with. I've used it in my single-player world, and within the span of a couple hours, have been able to fill a double chest with various different items, quite a few enchanted books and enchanted fishing rods and bows as well, once you get Luck of the Sea on a fishing rod. But either way, I find this a fairly effective design. I hope you find it useful too, and happy fishing!